Welcome to Life Hacks Beyond Convention with Dee and Sonia. It's the reason they changed the terms in the first place, when they went from, 3 terms to 4 terms. The Education Department here worked out that if you're paying part-time staff and all of your school services officers and support staff are part-time and half of your teachers are, that if you have 4 terms, the holidays line up with all the public holidays, so they don't have to pay them. So it's saved billions. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, well, it's been a big change because when I went to school, we only had 3 terms, which would be the same, I'm assuming, for you.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, 3 terms. And then you have this enormous break over the Christmas, New Year. Yeah.
We had about 7 weeks, I think.
Yeah, exactly, which was just awesome. I used to love that. Whereas it's not quite as big now.
No, 4 or 5, I think.
Yeah.
Probably 5 to 6, yeah.
Well, I remember reading, what do you call it, propaganda?
Oh, yeah.
I remember reading the information
that you were provided with.
that we were provided with. And I think some of their justification was just that the terms were too long for the attention span of the children, which for some kids is probably true, because that meant a lot of our terms were the 13 weeks.
Yeah.
And I know, talking to education support officer, it's like when it starts getting to that 11-week term, it's like, oh my God, I wish holidays had come. The kids are just a nightmare. So I don't know. I don't know. Was it really that big a problem? It's probably more about the billions they saved.
Yeah. I don't know.
No, I don't know either.
And we homeschooled, so we didn't have to worry about it. Like we had.
No, it was great.
Yeah, I think the legal requirement here in South Australia was that they had to be registered at attending education, so to speak, in the home 196 days. So you could utilise that how you wanted to. So gave it a lot of flexibility.
Yeah, well, I think the laws have changed since I first started homeschooling, but at the time you had to actually ask permission to homeschool.
Oh, you still do, I think.
Yeah, and if you asked permission and were denied permission, that actually could send you to jail.
Oh, I don't.
Whereas if you just never asked permission, that was just a fine.
Well, actually, there's 2 levels of fines because I was chased a little bit. You could only fill out the forms if both parents signed them. My child's other parent was nowhere to be found, and even if I had asked, it would have been denied. And I knew that she couldn't go back to school, so I went, okay, I'm just going to go under the radar. And we lived across the road from the school oval, which was just 50 metres from the schoolrooms. So we chose to just fly under the radar, so to speak. But I got a copy of the Education Act, and this won't be correct, but say it's, I call it a parking fine. So if you don't ever register your child at a school and you've parked them at home, then there's a fine, and at that stage it was about $150 for parking them in the wrong space. They can't, if they fine you, they can't actually take any other action. So they don't fine you because they want to try and catch you at something. If your child has been registered at school and then you take them out of school to homeschool, you have to go through the process to register for homeschooling. And if you don't, then the fine is, say, $175 because you've parked your child in the wrong place. Because it's a parking style fine, they won't fine you because they want to track you. And because once a fine is paid, the issue's over. There's no other grounds that they had built into the Act to do anything. So, so it was interesting the way it was worded and hadn't been.
Yeah, well, that's right. I don't know how it's changed now because that's a long time ago. But yeah, Yeah, exactly. And then when I moved interstate, the requirements were different.
Yes, very different.
Yeah, yeah. So depending on which state in Australia you're in.
Yeah,
So
well, yeah, I was talking about South Australia. So yeah.
mm, yeah, yeah. Well, me too, because that's where we started.
Mm.
And yeah,
Yeah.
it was definitely well. And they could actually, like, if you went through the process to apply, they could say no.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. So, not that I ever heard of anybody who was denied, who
Yeah.
did, who went through the process, but that doesn't mean you can't be.
We
It
had
just means that they weren't.
we had a woman who was referred to as a truancy officer come and see us, and
Mm,
I was happy to have her there and said, okay, we're doing this and this and this,
mm,
showed around the house. Things that they were concerned about was enough space to do homework. Well, the dining table's big, and enough light, and it was
mm,
very well lit in our living area. Um,
mm,
Less concerned about the curriculum sections, but we'd covered them all anyway. And she really went away going, look, I'd really like you to apply, you know. And I said, yes, I know, I would too, but I'm not in a position to. So, and that was a lot. That was it. One visit.
mm,
Never
mm,
heard from
mm,
them again.
mm,
So,
mm.
yeah.
Yeah, well, I only ever had one phone call.
Mm, yeah. And what was that?
Can't even quite remember.
Mm,
I can't
yeah.
even quite remember.
I
Yeah.
think it had a resurgence during COVID. A lot more people chose to actively do it rather than just doing what was sent home to the kids.
Mm,
But it was sort of amusing to see that play out, having done it.
mm,
So, yeah, and one
yeah.
taken a screenshot of herself or something and left that on the screen so that they thought she was work or a film or something, and she was off doing something else. She was only a little kid, and you just think, oh, this one's a smart one. Maybe you need to be extending her in other stuff. You
Well,
know?
it all gets back to your own philosophy about what education is, doesn't it,
Hmm.
too? Because not
Yeah.
everybody agrees with the mainstream education system and the educational philosophies that sit behind that.
Well, the
Mm,
reality is it doesn't serve a lot of people. Those who have dyslexia, dyscalculia, dysgraphia, whatever, they're not getting the assistance or the modifications they need because their disability, so to speak, or
mm,
variation isn't being accommodated.
mm. Well,
So,
and just plain outright bullying.
well, yes, that's the reason we pulled, yeah, our child
Mm,
out was from
mm,
such severe bullying, and the bullies did not get dealt with at all. And in the
mm,
end, it was actually the teachers to a degree bullying too. So, yeah, you can't be overweight in our culture at all. So,
mm,
and
mm,
the couple of teachers tried. I think they made assumptions about me because I had moved to that particular town as a single parent. I became a single parent because I had been laid off by the education department from a level 4 position as bursar because they were cutting back SSO staff and I was still a temp. And I think they assumed that I was uneducated, that I'd run off and got pregnant so I could be on the sole parent pension. And I had an overweight child. So when I went in for parent teacher interviews, they sat on nearly normal chairs and put me on a little kid's chair.
oh, that's really
And there were
awful.
two teachers and me. And I just went, you really haven't looked into me because I've read the Alan Pease books. Hello, body language, the whole bit. And I just went, oh, good grief. So, and they said, oh, well, we blah, blah should be playing football or netball, telling you the child should be doing sport and all the rest of it. And if there's a couple of sports I can't stand, it's those two. And it's more because of the behaviours. It's not the
Mm.
sport itself, it's the behaviours that build up around it and the bullying nature. And I couldn't resist it. I just went, oh, I really hate those sports. you just, yeah, make huge assumptions, assume I'm an idiot, and think that I'm not going to recognize what's going on here. So, yeah, not happy, Jan.
Well, that was the same with one of my children when I had to go into a parent teacher. They kept telling me how tired she always was, which, yeah, I knew.
Mm,
And they'd keep saying, "Can you make sure she goes to bed early?" And I was only just talking to her again Easter time, actually. She was over
yeah.
here for Easter. And she was remembering too. It was like she was always in bed by 7 o'clock, which was early
Mm,
and was quite hard because she didn't want to go to bed then because the other two, even the younger one, didn't need as much sleep as what she needed.
yeah.
And she would go to sleep. She'd be asleep by 7:30, and I'd still have to be dragging her out of bed to get her to school
Wow.
the next day because she was so tired. And they kept telling me that I didn't have her in routine and that I needed to give her more sleep. And actually, what I found out in later years is that because she had dyslexia, which we didn't know at the time, hadn't been diagnosed at that
Yeah.
point, but that often for children,
Mm.
fatigue is a huge symptom of dyslexia because their brain's working so hard all the time. They're just tired
They have to
all the
work
time
twice
in a
as
school environment, anyway.
they have to work
Yeah.
twice as hard to keep up with the crowd because their brain doesn't process the written word. And once again, that's our education system, you know.
Yeah. And I know.
You-
And they just
Yeah.
didn't believe me. It didn't matter how many times I told them
Yeah.
that we have got her in routine.
Mm.
Yeah, anyway,
Mm.
that's
Uh,
just, but you're right, they do make assumptions about your family, don't they?
we
And
got the
of course,
same.
because I was a sole parent at that point as well, so there probably was assumptions sitting behind that. I mean, I don't know, I didn't
Oh,
think about that too
absolutely.
much at the time, but I'm sure there would have been.
In the
Yeah.
town I was in at the time, there definitely everybody hated them. If you're a sole parent, sole mother, I should say, because men don't get recognised because they're not with the kids, and if they are with the kids, everyone says, "Oh, aren't you a wonderful father?" Yeah, paid child support for 15 years. But we
Well,
had the same issue with the education, and I had my child assessed by an educational psychologist, and she came at it from some very different angles. But these teachers wouldn't listen at all.
no,
And then
no.
they just said, "Oh, well, she's just manipulating you." And I just went, "Well, maybe she is, but why would she feel the need, you know?"
What's going
So,
on? Yeah.
yeah.
Mm,
But she got hit in the stomach twice by other children, once with a 4x2 and once with a fist.
mm.
And
Totally unacceptable, isn't it? I mean,
nothing was done.
that's more than just bullying, that's
Like,
assault.
yeah, and the other thing, and this is a long time ago, this is nearly 30
Mm,
years ago, but I took her to the doctor when she'd been punched because she kept saying she was sore. And the
mm,
doctor was a female in a large country town, feeling around her stomach. No, there's nothing. She's not reacting. And I said, look, she's in pain. There's no denying that. You know, is there some other way? And she said, well, just a moment. She said, I'll just try something different. And she ran her fingers across the chest like this, and the child went through the roof. And she said, I bruised her ribs.
mm,
Yes. And she
mm,
said, oh, well, she'll have to get used to bullying.
mm.
A doctor said that.
Yeah, thank goodness things have changed since then.
Yeah.
Doesn't help those that went through it then, but
No, no.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
yeah, it's awful.
mm.
Yeah. Oh, I know, because that really is actually assault, isn't it?
Well, yeah, if I'd been smart in the moment, I was too angry. I would have said, "Excuse me, if one of your peers came in here, punched you in the stomach and bruised your ribs, that would be a police reportable event."
That's right.
And yet some bigger kid, a grade 7 kid, can do it to my grade 1 kid, and
Mm,
she has to get used to bullying.
mm.
Yeah. So hit the subscribe button below if you want to follow life hacks beyond convention.